Unleash supernatural love and abundant wealth in 40 days. Confirmed prophetic manifestation. In the heart of a quaint English village, where rainbows often kissed the hills and the air was thick with history, Sarah knelt before the flickering candlelight in her small, humble home. The strains of her children's laughter echoed sweetly around her, but the weight of mounting debts and a struggling family business twisted a knot of fear in her heart. Each silent prayer felt like a lifeline thrown into the deep unknown, a desperate reach for divine intervention. That night, beneath the dim lights of their cherished church, a place grounded in generations of faith, the pastor's voice rang out like a clarion call. The words he spoke were imbued with an otherworldly energy, stirring conviction and awe. "Sarah," he declared, eyes blazing with fervor, "imagine a journey that transforms your very soul, a sacred commitment to prayer." The congregation gasped, captivated by the electricity that danced in the atmosphere. 40 days! 40 days to unleash supernatural love and abundant wealth. The weight of his declaration felt like a mighty mountain made low. The air shimmered with divine promise, as if the heavens themselves opened, ready to rain glory upon the faithful. With a heart ignited, Sarah set her face like flint toward this calling. For days she poured herself into prayer, the walls of her home reverberating with her supplications. Each day brought fresh challenges. Friends wore skeptical expressions while whispered doubts trailed behind her like shadows, gnawing at her resolve. However, with every flicker of hope, she grasped the promise even tighter, refusing to let go like Jacob wrestling with the angel. But as it often goes through dark valleys, the illness of her youngest child struck, like an unexpected storm upon a clear day. Panic gripped her heart. How could this happen now? Despair's cruel grip threatened to pull her under. Yet, despite her trembling heart, the church community rallied around her, enveloping her in their unwavering love and prayers. Their relentless support felt like a warm embrace. Each prayer became a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters, but still, she felt overwhelmed. Was it all futile? Just as doubt began to seep in like rain on a cold night, a moment of desperation surged within her. Sarah fell to her knees and cried out, tears streaming down her cheeks, "Lord, help me!" And in that fragile moment, something miraculous happened. A healing breeze swept through her home. The room filled with an inexplicable warmth, and joy erupted as her child's laughter chimed from the other room, vibrant and unmistakably alive. Hope flickered back to life, igniting her heart while shaking the foundations of doubt. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With renewed vigor, Sarah pressed on. It seemed as though the journey had sparked a divine chain reaction. A financial blessing appeared unexpectedly, doors of opportunity flung open, and laughter returned to their home. But just as the promise began to unfold, darker storms threatened her newfound hope. Perhaps it was the enemy's last-ditch attempt to snatch the victory from her grasp. As challenges multiplied, Sarah faced a powerful question. Had her faith turned into a mere license for prosperity? Or was it a genuine and deep surrender to something greater? As the community gathered to encourage her, breathless murmurs filled the air, eyes shining with anticipation. They had witnessed a transformation. But would Sarah truly rise above the looming trials ahead? Would she emerge victorious from the shadow of hopelessness? Or would these challenges prove too great a test? The tension in the air crackled with uncertainty, leaving many breathless, hopeful, and watching intently for what could come next. The soft light of dawn filtered through the kitchen window, illuminating the modest space where Sarah prepared breakfast. The aromas of toast and honey mingled with the distant chirps of awakening birds. Yet beneath the cheerful ambiance, a heaviness lingered. Deep in her heart, a battle raged on. Faith wrestled with fear. Just as she flicked the toast, a whisper of hope stirred within, urging her to press on. Today marked the beginning of the third week in her 40-day journey. She gathered her children around the table, their bright faces beaming like the sun breaking through clouds. They had returned to their usual laughter, yet Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. The enemy, ever cunning, cast shadows of doubt that danced like specters around her mind. What if this is just temporary, she pondered. What if it all comes crashing down again? A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. It was Martha, a dear friend and fellow church member. "Sarah, I brought you some fresh vegetables from my garden," Martha exclaimed, her eyes sparkling with warmth. This simple act of kindness brightened Sarah's spirit, a reminder that love poured from unexpected places. "Thank you, Martha. You truly are a blessing," Sarah replied, embracing her tightly. The warmth of community felt like a shield against the encroaching darkness. As Martha helped her chop the vegetables, they talked about everything: family, faith, and the local news. It was in these small shared moments that Sarah found strength. The laughter bubbled up again, and together they prayed, inviting God into their hearts once more. But later that day, when Sarah went through the family accounts, the reality came crashing back. Bills piled high, and the threats from creditors loomed over her like storm clouds, threatening to unleash devastation. Despite the laughter and the blessings, each number felt like a dagger to her resolve. It drove her back to that sacred space on her knees. "Lord," she whispered into the silence, "you have brought me this far. I need you more than ever." Tears of desperation trickled down her cheeks. In that instant, she recalled the miraculous healing of her child. A flicker of faith ignited within her, fueled by the memory of grace. Could it be true? Was there still room for miracles? Days turned into nights filled with prayer, her hands clasped tightly in hope. During one such night, a profound warmth enveloped her as she prayed. She surrendered her worries, letting go of control, and placed her trust entirely in God. "Your will be done, Lord. I am here, ready to receive." Then came Sunday, a time when the church would be alive with the voices of worshipers. As Sarah entered, she felt the energy shift. The congregation, a tapestry of faces united in faith, greeted her with smiles and strokes of comfort. The pastor stepped forward, speaking of resilience, grace, and the promises yet to unfold. "Sometimes," he said, his voice rising passionately, "the darkest nights reveal the brightest stars. God can turn wounds into wisdom, trials into triumphs." Sarah's heart raced, resonating with each word. Encouragement flooded her spirit, igniting hope anew. She wondered, was this journey not just about her, but for the community as well? As the sermon drew to a close, a sense of impending change hung in the air. Would they together witness a transformation? Would their faith emerge stronger, unbroken? The applause that followed felt like thunder, an echo of resolve. Yet within Sarah remained an unshakable question. Could her faith blossom into something unimaginable, transcending her current struggles? The altar call beckoned, and in that sacred moment, she felt an urge to rise, to step forward, to embrace whatever God had for her. The congregation, witnessing her movement, held their breath with bated hope. What revelation awaited, and what could God unveil stepping into this sacred act of surrender? Sarah took a tentative step toward the altar, her heart racing with both fear and promise. Little did she know that the divine mystery of her journey was just beginning, and sometimes the greatest blessings come through the most challenging trials. What awaited her? As she surrendered her fears and doubts, stepping into the unknown. As Sarah stood at the altar, a surge of anticipation coursed through her. The faces of her fellow worshippers blurred into a whirl of encouragement, their silent prayers weaving a cocoon of strength around her. With each step, the weight of her worries began to lift, replaced by a buoyant sense of purpose. "What am I afraid of?" she wondered. "Is my God not greater than my fears?" The pastor motioned for her to come closer. "Sister, what do you seek from the Lord?" His voice was filled with compassion, echoing warmly within her soul. "I want to believe," Sarah found herself confessing, her voice trembling with sincerity. "I want my faith to deepen. I want to witness miracles again." The pastor nodded knowingly, his eyes shining with the light of understanding. "Faith is a journey, just like yours, and in this very moment, you've taken a courageous step forward. God honors your willingness to trust Him." In that instant, a rush of light cascaded down upon Sarah, enveloping her like a warm embrace. It was not just the presence of the congregation, it was something more, something divine. As she knelt, the world around her faded, and all that existed was her heart, laid bare before God, Thoughts of doubt and fear disintegrated in the radiance of his love. "Lord," she breathed, "I let go of my burdens. I want to walk in your light. Fill me with the faith that moves mountains." In response, she felt an undeniable peace. It was an otherworldly sense of assurance, like the soothing balm of a gentle breeze. As she raised her arms in surrender, she sensed hope streaming into her heart, pouring over her like rain bringing life to parched soil. The congregation began to sing, their voices rising in harmonious worship, echoing the whispers of Sarah's spirit. Side by side, they lifted her name in prayer. "Help her, Lord, bring forth provision, bring forth healing." The sound enveloped her, strengthening her resolve. Visions flickered in her mind, her children laughing, the bills settled, peace reigning in her home once again. But more than that, she saw herself intertwined with the community, each heart a flame of faith lighting the way for the other. As the music crescendoed, the pastor spoke again, his voice filled with fiery conviction. "Believe for your miracle, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find." With each word, Sarah grabbed hold of the promise. She stood taller, no longer a mere passive participant in her circumstances, but an active seeker of God's provision. Each request lifted her spirit higher, breaking through chains of hopelessness that had threatened to bind her. But then, a familiar flicker of doubt crept in. "What if nothing changes?" a whisper taunted. Just as quickly Sarah countered, her voice rising above the doubt. "I choose to believe. God has a plan for me." The service continued with fervor, and as she knelt, Sarah found herself rooted in a profound understanding. Sometimes the deepest growth comes through surrender. As the final prayers echoed, and the reverberation of her heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of hope around her, a surprising strength surged within. "Things will be different," she thought, a fire igniting in her spirit. Yet as Sarah slipped back into her seat, buoyed with renewed faith, she couldn't shake the undercurrent of curiosity. What would it truly mean to trust God fully? Would this act of surrender lead to miracles she had only dreamt of? Only time would reveal the answers to her questions. What unseen challenges loomed ahead? What blessings awaited on this path of faith? As she sat there, surrounded by the warmth of her community, those questions hung delicately in the air, pregnant with possibilities. The mystery of her next steps, woven into the very fabric of her surrender, awaited divine revelation. As the last notes of worship faded into memory, Sarah closed her eyes, still feeling the warmth of the moment wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. The atmosphere had shifted, and in that sacred space, a new realization dawned on her heart. This was not merely a routine service. This was the start of a journey that could transform everything. She turned her gaze to the familiar faces around her. Each smile held a story, a testimony of faith that resonated deep within her spirit. Their struggles mirrored her own, yet their unwavering hope inspired her. As they exchanged glances, she could see the flickers of belief in their eyes. They were a family bound together by faith, each one a part of the tapestry God was weaving in that very moment. Suddenly, her attention was drawn to the pastor, who was now speaking quietly with a few elders off to the side. His voice, though soft, carried a weight of authority that Sarah had long admired. She leaned in, straining to hear the conversation. "It's vital we encourage her," one elder said. "She's on the brink of discovering a deeper connection with God." Those words struck her like an arrow of clarity. On the brink? Yes, that felt true. She was standing at the threshold of something monumental, a divine encounter that could redefine her walk with God. With her heart racing, Sarah realized that the act of surrender she had embraced was not a sign of weakness, but of strength. In letting go, she was opening herself to receive whatever blessings God had waiting for her. "I am ready," she whispered to herself. "I am ready for whatever comes next." She felt a nudge from within, a reminder of the process of seeking God. Each day was a day of choice. Would she choose fear or faith, doubt or belief? The answers hung suspended like glimmering gems, waiting for her to pick them up and reflect on their beauty. As she left the service, Sarah felt wrapped in a cloak of hopeful anticipation. It was as if the divine light that had enveloped her was guiding her steps. Each one felt lighter, filled with purpose. She envisioned the growth that lay before her, the potential for transformation blossoming like flowers in spring. The world outside was vibrant. The sun cast its golden rays across familiar paths. Yet although everything felt the same, Sarah understood she was no longer seeing it through the same lenses of despair and doubt. No, she had a new vision now, one tinted with divine hope. Days turned into a week, and she began to notice small miracles unfolding. A neighbor, whom she had barely spoken to, came to her with an unexpected gift of groceries. Another day, a call came through about a job opportunity she hadn't even applied for. Each incident was a reminder of God's relentless pursuit, a gentle nudge reinforcing her faith journey. But as the blessings flowed, so did the challenges. Doubts re-emerged, whispering in her mind. What if it's temporary? What happens when the dust settles? Yet Sarah was ready. She clung to the promises she had declared at the altar. "I will not let fear rule me," she declared one morning, resolute on her way to work. "Each time I question, I will cast it aside and choose faith instead." As she went about her day, Sarah experienced a profound revelation. This journey was not just about her. It was about lifting others along the way, lighting the path for those still wandering in the shadows of uncertainty. She felt a divine calling to share her stories, to encourage those in need of hope, reminding them that miracles began with belief and trust. On one such evening, while reaching out to a friend struggling with darkness, she felt a gentle tap on her shoulder. It was an elderly woman from her congregation, known for her wise words and warm spirit. "Dear Sarah," she said softly, "I see the fire of God in you. Let me share something important." What wisdom would this kind woman impart? What divine inspiration awaited Sarah in her next steps? The air thickened with anticipation as the evening promised new revelations. The elderly woman's eyes twinkled with a light that seemed to carry years of wisdom and tender care. "My dear, faith is a powerful thing. It is not merely about what you believe, but how you live out that belief." Her voice wrapped around Sarah like a warm embrace, filling the air with a gentle urgency. "What do you mean?" Sarah asked, her heart quickening. She sensed that this moment was crucial. "When you open your heart to love, you invite God into every corner of your life. It's this divine love that will unlock doors you never knew existed." Her words were punctuated by a quiet yet unyielding determination. "You must act on that love, Sarah. It's a call to deepen your relationships, to uplift others, just as you've sought to uplift yourself." As the woman spoke, Sarah felt a stirring in her spirit. She had dedicated her life to transformation, but there was something more profound awaiting her, something that required action, commitment, and courage. The evening air grew cooler as they stepped outside, and the first stars blinked to life in the vast sky. "Miracles happen through connection, through sharing," the woman continued, her gaze fixed ahead. "Imagine the wealth we can cultivate in our hearts by giving our time, our resources, our shoulders to those who are weary. It's not always about material gifts. Often it's the love and kindness you give that will return to you multiplied." A child's laughter echoed nearby, a reminder of the joys that life offers when we choose to be open-hearted. "What if I could be the light someone else desperately needs?" Sarah pondered aloud, excitement bubbling in her chest. The idea ignited her imagination. What if she began each day as a vessel of love? What if she reached out to her community, sharing not only her blessings but also her story? "Exactly," the woman exclaimed, the light of her smile brightening. "Let your transformation flow outward. Keep a journal of your acts of love and the moments of joy they bring. You'll find that your faith grows richer with every page." Inspired by this call to action, Sarah picked up her phone and texted her friend, inviting her for coffee the next day. She planned to listen, to offer comfort, and to share her own journey of renewal. Each interaction could be a new seed planted, destined to flourish in the soil of faith. Days unfolded beautifully as Sarah found herself enveloped in a rhythm of giving and receiving. She volunteered at a local shelter, where she met people from all walks of life, each story stitching into the tapestry of her experience. Their struggles and triumphs became a powerful mirror reflecting her own growth. With every act of kindness, she felt God's presence more vividly, sometimes in a shared laugh, other times in a heartfelt prayer. The blessings weren't always grand gestures. They were often simple moments of connection that filled her soul with exceeding joy. Yet as the days ticked by, a whisper of doubt still lurked at the edges of her heart. But what if this is just a phase? It nagged. What if my newfound love fades? Determined, Sarah shook off the fear. She spent time in prayer, seeking clarity and strength, surrounding herself with like-minded believers who would lift her when she felt weary. She reminded herself that growth requires endurance. As she settled into the quiet of her home one evening, journal in hand, an unexpected message popped up on her phone. It was an invitation to a community event at the church, focusing on sharing testimonies of faith and divine love. It felt like an exciting leap towards her next adventure. But as she read the details, a stirring in her heart made her realize this was more than just a gathering. It would be a chance to testify about her journey, to celebrate the love unfurling within her. Would she be brave enough to step into the spotlight? Would she share the depth of her experience and ignite faith in others? The air thickened with anticipation. What awaited her at the event? Would this be the moment that truly launched her into the uncertainty and beauty of divine purpose? The answer was just around the corner. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and purple across the sky, Sarah found herself pacing her living room. Each step felt heavier as thoughts swirled in her mind. The invitation to the church event trembled in her grasp. It represented more than an evening together. It was a crossroads, a moment to embrace vulnerability and genuinely share her heart. She could envision sitting among her friends and strangers alike, the room filled with anticipation, eager faces shining with hope, yet self-doubt clawed at her. What if her story felt insignificant? What if she stumbled over her words? Yet somewhere deep within, a flicker of courage ignited. God had been preparing her, weaving experiences together into a beautiful tapestry that could shed light on someone else's dark moment. Just then, her phone chimed again, a message from her friend Claire. "I'm so excited for the event. Can't wait to hear your testimony." Instant warmth spread through Sarah's heart. Someone was looking forward to her words. It was a gentle reminder from God that she was not alone in this. She had a community. Drawing a deep breath, she opened her journal and began to write. She recalled the first day she stepped into the shelter, apprehensive but hopeful. The smiling faces of the people she met flashed before her eyes like a divine gallery, each one a testament to love in action. As she penned her thoughts, an overwhelming sense of peace washed over her. This was no longer a task to complete. Instead, it was an offering of faith that could touch lives far beyond her own. She had been entrusted with the narratives of pain, joy, and transformation, and she could see how God had threaded His presence through every chapter. Hours later, Sarah stood before her mirror, adorned with courage and grace. A final touch of lipstick and a whispered prayer settled within her heart. God, speak through me. Let my words be seeds of faith for others. When the evening arrived, the church brimmed with warmth. Laughter and cheerful greetings harmonized beautifully, filling the air with a holy expectancy. The soft glow of candlelight contrasted against vibrant community spirit. She felt the gentle push of the Spirit guiding her forward. As Sarah took her seat, she caught sight of the elderly woman who had spoken to her in the park. Their eyes met for an instant, and Sarah felt a rush of gratitude. This was the ripple effect of love, both actively given and received. When it was her turn to share, Sarah's pulse quickened, but the anticipation thrummed in her veins like a song. She stood before the crowd, its attentive faces striking a chord within her heart. "I want to talk about love," she began, her voice steadying with each word. She shared her story, weaving threads of transformation and love's impact on her journey. With each revelation, she could feel God's presence radiating in the room, uniting spirits through shared understanding. Tears glistened in the eyes of her listeners. A young man reached for a tissue. A woman nodded in quiet acknowledgement. Together, they breathed in the truth of her words, a living testament of hope. As she stepped down, the applause swelled around her, but what mattered more were the souls she felt drawn to. After the gathering, several approached her, sharing their own struggles, hopes, and dreams. Each story resonated deeply, binding them together in the divine tapestry of mutual support. But as this beautiful exchange unfolded, a gentle nudge of truth tugged at her heart. What if there was even more to this journey? Would she find herself called to continue sharing, to bear witness to the unfolding love and miracles God desired for His people? The room dimmed as the last fragments of conversation faded, and Sarah's heart brimmed with a sacred question. How does one fully surrender to such extraordinary love? What revelations awaited in the days to come? The echo of divine mysteries lingered in the air. As the congregation began to disperse, Sarah lingered near the door, her heart still resonating with the warmth of shared faith. Those conversations had ignited something in her spirit, a call to deeper engagement with the community she cherished. Was it possible that tonight was merely the beginning of her journey, not just a singular moment of vulnerability? The evening air brushed softly against her cheeks as she stepped outside, a refreshing balm to the fervent energy still swirling within her. She could hear laughter and distant music, the remnants of joy echoing behind her. But ahead lay an unfamiliar path, a beckoning toward further exploration of God's purpose in her life. Lost in thought, she wandered toward the park, her beloved refuge. The moon hung bright, illuminating the path ahead, echoing God's light through her soul. Thoughts began to coalesce as she sat down on a familiar bench, comforted by the presence of nature and the quiet rustle of the trees. "What is it that you need from me, Lord?" she whispered into the stillness. The cool breeze seemed to carry her words, and an abundance of possibilities flooded her heart. She had felt God's presence so vividly tonight, yet she sensed there was more waiting to be uncovered. A small group of youth broke into her thoughts as they strolled by, their laughter ringing carefree like church bells on a Sunday morning. Her heart tugged toward them, sensing that they might need encouragement, guidance, just like she once did. Would she be willing to step outside her comfort zone once again and invest in their lives? A spark ignited as she envisioned small gatherings where stories could be shared, lessons learned, and faith deepened. Perhaps they could meet in the park, sharing not just words, but the love of Christ through action. What if she became a conduit of transformation for others, just as others had helped her? "God, take all of me, my fears, my insecurities. Use me, Lord," Sarah murmured, surrendering her doubts in a profound moment of commitment. In that instant, her heart felt lighter, bathed in a new kind of understanding. Love was never meant to be contained. It was a flowing river, intended to nourish everything in its path. Just then, she noticed the elderly woman from the church event crossing the path. Their eyes met once more, a silent exchange that cast a web of connection between them. Sarah rose and approached her, curiosity guiding her forward. "Hello again, I'm Sarah," she said, extending her hand. The woman smiled, her eyes twinkling. "Elena, I was so moved by your words tonight. It's rare to hear such honesty." "Thank you. I was just wondering, would you like to join me sometime in the park? I think there's so much we could learn from each other," Sarah proposed, her heart thrumming with excitement. Elena's smile widened, and she nodded. "I would love that. We can share stories and see how we can enrich our community together." As they exchanged contact information, a sense of divine affirmation washed over her. This was the pushing of boundaries she longed for, the act of embracing God's call. This beautiful encounter felt like a divine appointment, deeper than mere coincidence. As she walked away, Sarah's heart fluttered with joy. Every step felt charged with potential. She envisioned a gathering, a network of souls united in the common goal of spreading love and hope. Perhaps they could interact with those in need, fostering a spirit of generosity and abundance that would ripple far beyond their small community. But just when she felt the joy of anticipation, a shadow of doubt crept back in. How would she manage this new endeavor? "Lord, I trust you," she breathed, knowing the journey ahead would be filled with challenges. Yet she clung to his promise. Each moment of uncertainty would be met with his unfailing strength. With renewed faith, she resolved to leap deeper into the unknown. How had God always planned for her to impact others? What gifts lay dormant, waiting to be awakened within her? It was a question bound with wonder, drawing her ever onward. As days turned into weeks, Sarah felt the stirring of something monumental within her spirit. Each time she visited the park, she could sense the familiar embrace of God's presence, urging her to act. Her conversations with Elena blossomed into a beautiful friendship, born from shared wisdom and laughter. They crafted their vision together, each meeting igniting new ideas on how they could impact their community through love and service. One chilly evening, gathered beneath the stars, Sarah and Elena discussed their first gathering for youth. "What if we call it Faith and Friends?" Sarah suggested, her excitement spilling over. a space for sharing faith stories, building friendships, and learning from one another. Elena's smile lit up the night. That's wonderful, and we can have warm cocoa. Nothing warms the heart like that. Their enthusiasm was contagious, and soon enough, word spread through the congregation. Young and old alike buzzed with excitement as they anticipated the upcoming event. Sarah often marveled at how God orchestrated everything, how one conversation sparked a flurry of connections. Yet with each step forward, doubts whispered into her heart. Will anyone show up? What if they aren't interested? Am I truly capable of leading this? The familiar shadows crept in, darkening her confidence. Yet every night as she prayed, she felt God's gentle reassurance tugging her back to His promises. With God, all things are possible, she would remind herself, leaning into the truth that had seen her through challenging seasons. On the eve of Faith and Friends, excitement mingled with trepidation. Sarah and Elena decorated the park, stringing fairy lights among the branches, creating an atmosphere of warmth and welcome. They prepared hot drinks, set out snacks, and created a cozy gathering spot that felt like home. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah's heart raced. What if I trip over my words? What if they laugh at me? The doubts rose like an avalanche, threatening to suffocate her resolve. Focus on love, she reminded herself, inhaling deeply. Love never fails. The memory of her own transformation emerged vividly in her mind. Hadn't someone once shared their heart and journey with her, igniting the spark of faith she now longed to share? As the first faces appeared, Sarah's heart swelled with joy. A group of teenagers approached, laughter spilling from their lips, mingling with the rustling leaves above. The warm glow from the park lights embraced them, an ethereal welcome into the space that felt so prepared for them. "Hey, this looks amazing!" one girl exclaimed, drawing the attention of those around her. Sarah's heart raced as she smiled back, waves of gratitude washing over her. She hadn't realized how comforting the sight of eager faces could be. Throughout that evening, as stories flowed and laughter blended with the soft sounds of nature, Sarah understood the impact of a single step of faith. Each young person shared their journey, their struggles, their small victories. They were all yearning for connection, just as she had once felt. "Can we do this every week?" one young man asked, his eyes shining with hope. "Yes, absolutely," Sarah exclaimed, her heart soaring. It felt like the beginning of something beautiful. But amidst the joy, a lingering thought nudged at her. What would it look like to invite even more people? How could they reach those who had yet to walk through their doors? "Lord, show me the way," she whispered into the night, filled with both faith and uncertainty. As the stars twinkled overhead, Sarah sensed a greater purpose was awakening, the call to unleash love that could change lives more than she ever imagined. In that moment, she caught a glimpse of the horizon, a divine invitation beckoning her to step deeper into the adventure of faith. But she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. What awaited them on the journey ahead? Would the community respond as she hoped? The sun rose on a new day, bringing a golden light that washed over the park, where echoes of laughter and joy still lingered in the air. Sarah woke with a heart full of hope. The glow from last night's gathering enveloped her, and she couldn't shake the sheer wonder of what had just begun. It was as if a dam had broken, releasing a river of possibilities. Elena buzzed with energy as they met for breakfast, a vibrant mixture of fruits and pastries laid before them. Imagine what this could become. What if we reached out to even more young people? Schools, community centers, local hangouts? Sarah leaned in, her coffee forgotten, excitement sparking in her soul. Yes, we could create a flyer or maybe a social media page, share testimonies, let them know it's a safe space to be themselves. As they brainstormed, a vision unfurled before Sarah, an expansive tapestry of community woven together through faith and love. But beneath the thrill, a thread of apprehension snuck through. But what if people don't connect? What if it all falls apart? Elena reached across the table, placing her hand on Sarah's. You remember what God has done, right? This is about love. Trust in that. It will resonate. Sarah nodded, swallowing hard as she tried to weave through the ebb and flow of her doubts. She closed her eyes, imagining the young lives that would crowd the park, laughter ringing loud, hearts opened wide, stories of courage and faith shared freely. If only she could shake her fears. The day progressed as they divided tasks and created. Flyers blossomed with vivid colors, inviting and warm, proclaiming their mission. Faith and Friends, a safe haven. Join us for connection, stories, and friendship. As they finished their preparations, Sarah took a moment to pray. Lord, help me lean into this vision. Show me how to guide them, to be a light. I want this to be a blessing, not just for them, but for our entire community. She felt a warmth wrap around her as if God were embracing her, breathing life into her dream. Each step felt heavy with anticipation. Soon word began to spread like wildfire. Young people began to share the flyers, to talk about the gathering among their circles. Weeks passed, and the park, once a simple meeting place, transformed into a vibrant hub of energy. Children played near the fountain, while teenagers lingered in clusters, deep in conversation and shared laughter. Each week brought more faces, and with each gathering, Sarah's heart swelled with joy, the kind that felt like a choir of angels singing the sweetest hymns. And just when Sarah thought it couldn't get better, a whisper came to her heart. You're not done yet. The thought hung in the air, heavy with mystery and divine purpose. What else did God have in store? What more could they accomplish together if they continued to walk in faith? The longing for more intertwined with her desires. Could they expand to include workshops, mentorship programs, or even ways to serve others? The possibilities danced in her head like stars against the night sky. Just wait, she thought as she stood at the park one evening, watching the gatherings flourish. What does God truly want to do here? What transformation is just waiting to break forth? Her soul surged with divine expectancy, a hunger for revelation that pressed her deeper into prayer. Each heartbeat echoed with the belief that they were being prepared for something extraordinary. As Sarah gazed up at the stars, her spirit alight with wonder, she couldn't shake a nagging feeling that something monumental lingered just beyond the horizon. What awaited them on this journey of faith? Would they be ready? The lights of the park twinkled like stars against the evening blackness, reflecting the joy and unity that now pulsed through the community. Sarah stood at the entrance, heart pounding like a drum, as the new gathering of Faith and Friends unfolded. Each week it had flourished, more faces, more laughter, and stories shared under the dim glow of lanterns. Just last week, a former skeptic, young Timmy, had thrown his hands up in joy, proclaiming, "I feel like I belong." Those words ignited an even deeper flame in Sarah's heart. That evening, as she looked around, she felt a shift. Something more was coming. She sensed God's presence subtly guiding her towards new horizons. "What does this mean, Lord?" she implored silently, her heart both eager and anxious. Elena joined her, placing a hand on her shoulder, her smile radiant. "Tonight feels different, doesn't it? The atmosphere is charged with anticipation." As the crowd settled around the central fire pit, Sarah climbed onto a small platform. Her hand went up instinctively, a signal for attention, and she felt the familiar rush of vulnerability and strength intertwine. "Everyone, thank you for coming tonight," she called out, excitement bubbling in her voice. "As we've built this space together, I've been praying for direction. What else does God have in store for us?" A murmur spread among the crowd, curiosity lighting their faces. Would they embark on more significant endeavors? "Tonight," Sarah continued, an idea igniting within her, "I want to introduce a new initiative. It's more than sharing stories. It's about sharing our hands and hearts, serving those in need around us. Imagine what we can accomplish together if we take this love we've cultivated and extend it to our neighbors, our city." The energy shifted. She saw glimmers of excitement ignite. Timmy raised his hand. "Yeah, like a community service day, helping clean up, bringing food to those who are hungry." "Yes," shouted another voice, "we could organize events in the school too." Sarah smiled, inspired by the creativity flowing from within the group. "What if we could partner with local charities? We could volunteer our time and talents together, affecting real change." A wild cheer erupted, echoing through the park. Their hearts thrummed as one, a unified spirit kindled with purpose. Later, they huddled into groups, brainstorming ideas, clapping hands together, laughter bursting forth under the blanket of stars. Time melted away as Sarah stepped back, watching the bonds strengthen, young people connecting, hearts intertwining through service, love, and faith. But as ideas blossomed, a flicker of worry whispered in her mind. Would this momentum last? Could she nurture these flames with ongoing joy? Yet every time doubt knocked, Sarah countered with prayer, sending her fears upward, reminded of the miracles already unfolding in her life. As the night wound down, Timmy approached, his eyes wide with wonder. "Sarah, can you come to my school? I want to share what we're doing. They need to see there's hope." "Yes, let's do it," Sarah replied, buoyed by his enthusiasm. Later that week, they gathered at the school, faces illuminated with curiosity and a hint of skepticism. But as Sarah spoke, laying bare the journey of hope and transformation in her life, their walls began to break down. One by one, they leaned closer, listening to the love story of God and community thread through her words. "I was once lost," she expressed, "but what changed everything was love. Real, tangible love from my friends, my family, and from God. Now I am here to invite you to be part of this." By the end, her voice swelled with spirit. "Together, we can be the change. Let's rally together to serve. Your light will shine brighter than you know." The students returned her gaze, adventurous glints igniting their spirits. The invitation to action stirred something deep, sparking faith where it had been dormant. Afterward, a dozen students approached her, eyes shining, each one eager to jump on board, to forge friendships and plant seeds of hope in their community. As the weeks flowed by, Faith and Friends took on a life of its own, evolving into monthly service events, each one drawing in new hearts, new stories, and even more miracles. The impact rippled outward, hearts once fragmented stitched tighter, like a family of faith, building, sharing, loving. Then, one evening under a sprawling oak tree, Sarah saw the elderly woman, Elena, once again. Having been through Faith's intricacies, she sat cross-legged, a twinkle in her eye as she watched young people bustling about, laughing joyously. "Look what you've begun," she said, pride evident in her voice. "You opened your heart to love, and it's multiplying." Tears welled in Sarah's eyes, the abundance of connection, purpose, and transformation washing over her. "I never expected any of this, just faithful steps, trusting God." That evening, within the embrace of her community, Sarah's heart overflowed with divine contentment. Somewhere in the depths of her soul, she realized that this journey was not merely about her, but about a legacy of love, a testimony resonating through generations. As she gazed around at the happy faces, laughter mingling with prayer, their spirits tethered through service, Sarah whispered, "Lord, thank you. This is just the beginning." With renewed vigor and faith stronger than ever, she stepped into the unknown, trusting that this unfolding story held great mysteries still to be revealed. What awaited them on this ongoing journey? The answer rested in the ever-expanding horizon of faith. Now, beloved friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to join us on this journey and witness the next exclusive faith stories unfolding. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, supporting this community of believers. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this powerful ending. Let your voice be heard. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of hope. Your actions mean everything. Together, let's be the light of faith in our world.